Hey guys, so I'm so excited for you to watch this episode right now, and be sure to subscribe right now if you haven't already to my channel, because I'm gonna be posting so much amazing content coming up. And this episode in particular is awesome because I'm interviewing Shanda Sumpter, who I will tell you about in a second as soon as we get into the meat. And she is an incredible boss woman who is an inspiration to me and so many others. She talked about values, boundaries, business, and her growth and her journey. And towards the end of the video, she talks about something called flex time. The way that she uses it though is very tactful and structured, and it really is powerful. I'm actually putting it into practice, and I hope you do too. So stay tuned for the entire episode. There is a ton of juicy content in there that you won't want to miss. So without further ado, here we go, let's get into it. Today I am sitting down with none other than the beautiful, amazing Shanda Sumpter, who is the queen visionary of HeartCore Business, her 8-figure training company that's designed to empower driven entrepreneurs with the business systems, mindset, leadership, and support that they need to use their gifts to create powerful, world-changing movements and profitable, sustainable businesses, all while having the freedom that they truly crave. Shanda is a dynamic speaker, trainer, and business coach, as well as the best-selling author of Core Calling: How to Build a Business That Gives You a Freedom Lifestyle in 2 years or less. Over the course of her career, Shanda has built several multi-million-dollar companies, and she's helped many of her clients break through that 6-figure ceiling. Shanda truly lives what she teaches. She enjoys plenty of freedom to spend quality time with her husband, Ash, and their son, Zach, who is adorable, by the way, whether that's in their beautiful home on the ocean or as they travel around the world. I am so excited for you to meet Shanda today, so without further ado, let's get right into it. You ready?
Yeah.
So Shanda, I am so thrilled to have you on today. You have no idea. I just love you so much, and you're such a light.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for coming on the show.
I am so excited to see what we create in the next few minutes.
Yes, and I just know it's going to be so valuable, because if I know you, I know that you are always about delivering value to others. You're a giver. So I'm just excited for all of our listeners to learn from you and to receive from you. So thank you so much. To start off, I would really love to hear about your journey, how you got to where you are today.
You know, at the very beginning, it was like I was in corporate America, and I literally had a spiritual experience, and I think that my experience was that God was speaking to me. And to the point where I actually thought I was going insane. Like, I was driving in my car from Sedona, Arizona back to Las Vegas at the time, and it was like a record back in the days when there was records. It's like a record on repeat, skipping. It was like, you have to go teach financial freedom. And I argued with this voice, and then I thought, oh my God, I think I'm going crazy. Like, I think I'm actually going crazy. Like, it was so surreal. And so I said, okay, I freaked myself out, and it didn't matter what I said, and I was speaking out loud in my car. It was just this voice over and over and over again. And I finally said, okay, I will call a friend of mine that taught something called Habit of Attraction, and I will call him, and I know he has an email list, I know he has a following, and I was like, I will just call him and see if he'll co-create a program with me. And I think that's really natural as an entrepreneur, especially starting. Everything you want to do often is co-creating.
Absolutely.
Right? It's like, it makes you feel safe. So I was like, if he'll do it with me, I'll get into the game. And I called it, I said, and I never want to hear from you again, this voice. I was like, and then if he said, like, I'll call Robert. If he says yes, I'll do it. And the voice stopped. And I called Robert, and he said, I've always thought you should be in this space. I didn't even know what this space was, the coaching space and the speaking space and the writing book space. I didn't even know what it was. And I created my program. He gave me 24 hours to do it. And I did all the crazy things. I put candles all around my floors.
Wow.
And I created it. And so, yeah, kind of.
That's amazing. I'm so happy we're talking about this, because I had no idea.
Yeah.
So when you were talking about that voice and then how you kind of had that resistance and you thought you were going crazy, what was going through your head to have you be resisting it? What was that sort of shadow there?
I don't know if you ever, maybe some people are born with like they know exactly what they want to be. Like, you hear those like little kids that are 3 years old that can play the piano and they grow up to be some amazing musician, right? But I don't think that happens to most people. Like, most people, it's like, We're fumbling our way through life and trying to figure it out. And, unless you get a bunch of entrepreneurs as your friends, you kind of feel weird because nobody understands your risk tolerance. Nobody understands like why you want to work so hard. Yeah. Nobody understands that. But then you get around entrepreneurs, you realize like this is a tribe.
It is.
You know what I mean? Like, so this is a tribe and there's nothing wrong with me. I'm uniquely an entrepreneur. And so, when I was in my car, it was like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't wake up when I was, I didn't wake up one morning and say, I want to be an entrepreneur. I had a great job. I had a great job. I was making incredible money. Our division was growing massively. I had full autonomy. I was in London every month for 2 weeks of every month, flying first class, staying across from Hyde Park. I had dating a cute English guy. I had a lot of things going for me. But at the end of the day, the thing that I think I've always had on my favor is I've always believed in God, and I've always had faith. And even when now I'm Christian and I go to C3 Church and I'm really committed, and I read scripture and all of that. But there was a journey even to that, and even just embracing that, because you have a belief about what does it look like if I leave my job and start this thing, and what is that thing and what am I? So it's like finding your identity in all of these different pieces only to break it again and grow.
Reinvention.
It's such a trip. Yeah.
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 That's beautiful. And so it sounds like you had an amazing career and then you just chose to walk away and create what you've now built to be this amazing empire called HeartCore Business.
Yeah.
So what was that like when you made that decision to walk away?
Well, first, I took a year to make that decision, and I was doing coaching on the side, and I was doing it for like $50, $75 an hour. I did all the things that I think most people do wrong. I sold, 6-week programs, 4-week programs, which is great, but that's not something you want to do till after your cash flow is set, after your traffic is set. Then you want to build in funnels like that.
Why is that? Can you share that?
Because you're always like every time I sold something, 4 weeks later I had to sell again. So it was like I'd have a moment of, oh my God, I could like pay my mortgage and I feel amazing. And then I'd be like, oh my God, in like a week, they're all done. You know what I mean? So it was like that. So I think it's really confusing for people around this conversation around growing a business, because I think the number one thing, Paul Mitchell said this at an event that I was at years ago, and I thought this was so smart. And he said, get in the reorder business, right? Like you think he sells hair products, but you have a hair salon, and every 6 weeks or 8 weeks, whatever your discipline is, you're going back into that salon. You're in the reorder business, right? Yeah. Or you've got, your shampoo or your skincare on subscription. That's why like Home Shopping Network. You want to get good at marketing, watch the Home Shopping Network. Watch it. Like everybody should study the Home Shopping Network and watch how they pitch products and how there's a reoccurring like piece to it. Yeah. So get in the reoccurring business. But if you're on Home Shopping Network, you have traffic. All you have to do is make a good offer and you have traffic. If you're an entrepreneur and you don't have a distributor like Home Shopping Network or even Gary Vee, like Gary Vee has huge clients, he can play the game for a really long time on Instagram and stuff like that and not have to sell anything, because it's a branding thing that results in something else. So you look at like what you're offering. You want to offer something high end first on a payment plan, so you've got your cash flow taken care of. Then figure out your traffic, because you don't need a lot of traffic. 10 people at $20,000. Yeah, it's $200,000 a year, right? What is that? 16 grand a month. So
not bad.
No, it's a good deal.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and I love the way that you put that. And I think, and that's something that, right now I would say I'm in that position where I'm finding a recurring type model, which I know is really, really important. Yeah. And so I love that. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's
it'll change your life. As soon as you have money, you can pay for traffic. Traffic's easy. It's easy to find. As soon as you have money, you can pay for traffic. That's just the game. So the deal is like when you don't have traffic, like sell something higher that has a reoccurring base, which means that just think about packaging. Because people will be like, I can't sell something higher. Nobody will buy it. And it's like, no. You have to think about packaging.
Totally. So positioning and packaging.
Yeah. So if you sit there, be an overgiver. Like give so much in that $20,000 package that you're like, technically this is a $60,000 package. And I'll probably never offer something like this again. The problem is that we often don't believe in what we're selling, that it's valued at that. Somebody just told us to offer that, and we don't really believe it. So then I'm saying overgive and package the heck out of it, you know, and then you'll be in a position where you're like, holy shit, this is easy to sell because I way believe in it.
Yeah, and you can't, I mean, if people can't believe in something that you don't even believe in.
No.
It's just, it's not going to work. And same with yourself. You know, if you're the brand, you got to believe in yourself. Otherwise, people aren't going to believe in you.
Yeah.
And that's just how it works.
Yeah.
I love that. And then, so something I really want to touch on now that we're talking about all of this, I heard you on social media saying over and over, bring on the failure, bring on the failure. So I really would love for you to speak into that, because so many people are scared of failure.
Yeah.
So many people are scared of failing. So please
you know,
shed light on that.
Even when we say we're not, we are. I mean, I just called myself out online too, because I was like, I'm still playing the like courage game. Like I'm failing some little things. Like, oh, I'll just do this, and okay. Like, but it's like, so I added 8 million to our bottom line for this year. So that, and I let everybody know. So that's a failing bigger, right? So, you know, I just feel like if you play that game, you're going to have an opportunity to, you know, reach a higher mark. So if you said you wanted to make $20 million and you made 15, like you're not going to be disappointed. But a lot of people set their goals too low, and then they work intensely to create it. I'm moving to this level of failure where I'm like I'm okay to not hit it, even though I'm going to do everything I can to hit it, which like takes the pressure off. And I think the game is getting the pressure off. Like this is just a game, and the game's important because it's your life.
Yep.
But like people get paralyzed and they can't actually like get out there and get like, they're like, oh my God, like I can't do a fucking video on social media because I don't know what to say. I'm like, then do 12. You know what I mean? Like do 12, and do it in the car, do it like going to the bathroom, like whatever, like do it everywhere that you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So that you can unhook from that. And that might be a big failure for someone, but money tracks. So I'm not saying money's everything. I mean, I really am not. But I'm saying you can think you're good at something, but if the money's not there, you're not that good yet. There's somewhere you're not willing to go, because good means you've contributed somewhere, which means somebody's paid you in a way that they're willing to pay you so that you're making a big difference. Like being great by yourself is like, who the fuck cares? That's so selfish, you know?
Yep. Yeah. Your money is your results.
It's a measurement.
Yeah, it's a measurement.
It's one strong measurement.
Yeah.
Sure.
So would you say, so for you, you see failure as calling you to a bigger game, calling you to be courageous, to be brave, and take a bold step that maybe you wouldn't have otherwise?
100%. And imagine what our lives would look like if we lived like that every day. Like depression just wouldn't be there. It wouldn't, because you would have something pulling you forward. So I'm not really a Grant Cardone fan, but I think he says some things that are really smart. And he talks about creating a calendar that pulls you forward. And I was like, that is so smart. Like when I have to do something, like at some point I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But often we're putting goals out there versus big ass failure opportunities. And some of them you really are going to fail. But like who you become in that process is just everything.
Okay. If you could share a time in your life where you did fail.
Yeah.
How do you approach failure? How do you work through it? And what's on the other side of that for you?
I mean, I have failed at so many relationships in my life, and I finally went out and I got Cherry Norris as a coach, and you know, her whole positioning is meet and marry your man. And I was like, you know what? Like at the end of the day, I can't say that it's not about meeting the right man, it was about something has to, like if I'm responsible, something has to be with me. Here's what I say. I wish she really knew who I was, like who I am with my friends. Because who I am with my friends is awesome. But like who I was in a relationship was not.
Wow. Really?
Right?
Okay. And why do you think that is?
Controlling, trying to control it, trying to like, you know, have him be who I want him to be. You know, there's like with like my best friend can literally break plans with me the day before, and somehow I have compassion. Somehow I have like acceptance, right? Like what makes a great relationship with your best friend makes a great relationship with your lover,
So true.
you know? And then people will be like, I need like him to line up to all these things. No different than business. Somebody just said, I want to make $15,000 before I go into Shanda's leadership program. And like, you go into the leadership program to make that. So like, even with relationships, it's like, oh, I want my husband to look like this. And it's like, well, guess what? He's not going to look like that in 2 years. Because he's going to evolve.
Yep. Yes.
And so are you. And that list is not going to be the list anymore. Think about your list 10 years ago. You know, totally different. Evolving. So it's like the game is not finding the perfect solution. The game is actually getting in the mess and saying, do our value systems work out in relationships, in your business? I'm about to start a podcast with Suzanne Evans. We're going to do a podcast together.
Amazing.
But we have to work through some things because what she wants to do is not in my value system, right? She wants to do more of a Howard Stern side, right? And I'm like, I'm not really about like attacking each other online, but it is part of her brand and it's authentic for her, right? Like it's totally authentic for her. So how do we find that middle ground where the value systems work? And so when you look at that in relationships, in business, you stop chasing rainbows, you start knowing who you are. And when you know who you are, you show up in a way that's very attractive to your tribe, right? So I'd say get really good with being in the mess. Like temper tantrums are not allowed. You know what I mean? Like temper tantrums are not allowed. And when you can get into that, you're like, it's okay to cry. It's okay to cry. You know, feel those emotions so that they leave. But then wipe your eyes and get up and move. You know what I mean? And that's just how I've worked through all challenges. You know, I've failed a lot in my business. I've failed a lot in my relationships. And I've never been better than I am today. And all I could say is, you know, the more I focus on my leadership, you know, like not having temper tantrums, learning how to feel my emotions and letting it go, you know, like I feel like everything I've done, like I feel like I've just arrived to the party. You know what I mean? Like now I have a multiple $1 million company. It's like, I feel like I just finally know what I'm doing. And at the same time, I have no idea what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because I'm going to a level that, like, I question, do I want to go to that level? You know, because not even about not knowing it. It's like, it's again walking that unknown space of like, it's all good here. Why do I have to grow? You know, but I know if I don't grow, and if you don't grow, and if everybody doesn't grow, then you're going to become complacent. And that's when you wake up one day and you don't know the person you're married to anymore. That's when you wake up one day and you're like, I don't feel passionate about this business anymore. You know, you wake up one day and you're like, what's the point in life? You know, so I think at the end of the day, I don't want to go down that road. So I want to keep growing.
I'm with you. I'm with you for sure. When you were talking about values, I would really love to go into this because actually when I polled my audience on topics for podcasts, that actually came up a lot. So, and what to do, how to approach, how to have that conversation if you realize that someone in your life doesn't have those core values. Because I know you talked about creating like a win-win and compromising. Yeah. What if you're in the situation where the compromise, the middle ground doesn't seem to exist? How would you handle that?
Well, first of all, I actually don't really think win-win that much. I actually think I'm looking for 100% win to someone else. So there's a book called The Go-Giver. I think everybody should read it. There's The Go-Giver in sales, The Go-Giver, but there's a red cover one. It's called The Go-Giver. Everybody should read it. Whenever there is like like some sort of a bargain, right? There's usually a righteousness of I did this for you, so I deserve this. And so I gave that up. And so I work for 100% win, and I'm not looking for anything out of it. However, I always see my win. Like I'll always see like how I can win after I start helping someone. Like it almost opens up a door that I never saw, that I didn't have access to because I wasn't on that wavelength. It's happened 100% of the time. Powerful. When I've really given. When it's one thing to just give to your friend and like that's kind of I don't consider that generous. I actually consider that's what friends do. That's kind of called a standard. It's a standard, right? Like people want acknowledgement for a standard of being a good person. And that's what that's the standard of our world now. Like I'm a good person because I didn't like have dinner tonight and I listen to my friend, talk on the phone about a broken relationship. I'm such a good friend because I spent 3 weeks talking to this person. It's like, no, that's a standard. Like, that's just a standard of being a good human being. If you want to activate generosity in your life, play the game of giving big. Like when you know that you can help somebody create something and you get behind them, whether they're paying you or they're not, then you're going to see some open gifts open that like you'll have access to ideas that you never had access to. Mm-hmm. You could never see.
Yeah.
But value system, back to that whole piece, like if someone doesn't align with my value system, they're not in my tribe.
You decide someone's not in your value system. You decide they're not a part of your tribe. How do you handle that? Do you have the conversation? What does that look like?
Yeah, so my front-end marketing is really good. So I am really direct on my front-end marketing. Like, I don't do well with you if you want to live in indecisiveness. I don't do well with you if you have worked with 3 coaches and they've all been the wrong coach, like they're wrong.
So you're seeing this in advance.
I have all my marketing up front. I'm really clear about who I am. Like, I never turn on a camera or grab an audio and do messages out. I never do it without clearly knowing who I am. Like, I don't even have to think about it. Like, I'm not going to edit. Like, for instance, I think real estate brokers are going away. I think real estate agents are going away. I think everybody's going to order online, download their contracts. I think the technology world is taking over. Tech is taking over. Like today, there was somebody who's like setting up their website to have fixing their real estate, a new real estate office, and they're opening up this new real estate company. And I looked at our sales girl and I go, that sucks. She's opening a business that's going away. And she's like, well, do we tell her that? And we're all looking at each other, in the room. And I'm like, God, that's a hard one. But that's authentic to me. Like, I care about people. It's a hard one to tell somebody. I'm not spineless. I'm like, okay, here's what you do. Ask her what she thinks about the technology world and that things are getting automated and that, people are buying like real estate on Redfin now. And now even past Redfin, they're signing contracts online now. Mm-hmm. And like people are actually buying homes online already. Ask her what she thinks about that. And start the conversation so you can go back and forth. And then you could say, well, we believe that you should leverage yourself or hedge the bets because we believe that real estate agents are going to go away. We try and do it with class because grace and class is part of my value system, but so is being straightforward.
Yeah.
So
not beating around the bush.
Yeah. I mean, imagine knowing that you're going to be out of business in a couple of years or somebody knowing and them not effing telling you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's like you having something in the middle of your teeth and nobody
you're
like, wait, is there? So I want to add on to that too, coming from a personal side. So you talked about business. Mm-hmm. And I love that. I love how you state you're really stating your value system, your boundaries early on, which is kind of training and prepping clients to work with you, which is genius. What about personal relationships? How do you do that?
I won't say this person's name, but there's actually 2 people in the last year that I've separated from as friends. One is a client who was a friend of mine, and I've just talked to her about this so many times, but she's such an opportunistic that it rubs me the wrong way to the point where it just feels so opposite of generosity. Even though she's a good person and she's generous at some levels, it just feels so taking to me that it just, You know what I mean? And it's not something for me to work through. It's out of alignment with me. It's like, imagine being around someone that like just wanted to get on your podcast, that just wanted to get your resources, like to get ahead. It's like that. We've talked about it for 2 years now. And so I've put in the effort, I've been there, and I love her, but I don't want to spend my personal time with her. Mm-hmm. There's another person who is super fun. I have so much fun with this girl. She gossips like crazy.
That's one of my big ones.
Yeah. So first of all, you have to know what your value system is. You can't just say what I like and what I don't like. Write it down. Like I sat down with a piece of paper with my husband when I was looking for him. And I wrote down everything, even everything completely that I would be ashamed of to put on a piece of paper about what I wanted in a man. In a husband, not just a man, a husband. And then I took all of those and I put them down to 10. What are my 10 most important? Then I went to my 7 most important. Then I went to my 5 non-negotiables. So that's how I was really clear in dating, because when I met a guy that was super hot, hit 4 of the 5, and he lied to his mentor. It was a white lie. He was just saving his mentor's feelings, but it was a lie. My number one thing is integrity. And so I can't ignore that. Imagine if I would have kept dating him for 3-4 years. Like, I can't ignore that. That would have come up at some point where it would have been a major problem for me, right? So I stopped it. So do the same thing with your quality of friends. What is your value system? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure those could probably go over, but what's your value system for your friendships? Like, who do you want in your life, and what's your value system with it, right? Who are you being? What are you committed to creating in a relationship? And then who has those value systems so that you can grow that commitment versus working so hard in this world and having friends that are transient, or they take, or you take from them because you don't even feel like worthy of being in their space. Like look for your crew.
Well, I love what you said about, like, when you were describing, I think it was the first friend, and I could tell you were having kind of trouble at first describing what exactly it was, but you just felt kind of that taking energy from her.
Yeah.
And what I really felt from you there is you were listening to your gut. You had a gut instinct, and you had that feeling, and you knew that you needed to do something about it. And I think that's really powerful for people to get.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't trust that gut feeling.
You ignore it.
Yeah.
I was trying to get that. I was trying to get there for years. My husband has probably said to me at least 4 times, I don't understand this friendship. My really good friend Michael Strasner said, I don't understand this friendship. Mm-hmm. She's just out of a lot. Like, Michael's like, all your friends are such huge givers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they are. Like, if you look at my friends, they're huge givers.
And that's huge, because that's a reflection of you. You're a giver. That's actually the first thing I said when we hopped on this podcast. Yeah. Oddly enough, like, I said that right away.
Yeah.
And so it's no coincidence that, you know, you are who you attract. So everyone in your tribe, and, you know, I know Michael Strasner, he's a huge giver. All these people, they're givers, and they care about you. And so they give because they care.
Yeah.
And I think what's really powerful is that and it takes a lot of self-respect to be like, okay, enough's enough. This is out of alignment. This is crossing my boundaries, my emotional, my energetic boundaries, because you felt, I think, energetically violated in some ways, is what I was kind of hearing from you. So do you feel like you've always kind of had that power to just honor and respect your boundaries, or is that something that you've sort of a muscle you've flexed over time that you've gotten better at?
I think I've gotten better at it. You know, there was a time even growing my business at the beginning that I thought, like, I'd have a dream list of friends that I'd want, and that dream list was who I thought they were, but it was also connected with how successful they were. You know what I mean? And I created those groups of girlfriends. There's 2 of them, I won't say because they're, like, well known, and they're great girls, but again, like, not in my value system. You know what I mean? Like, one has a lot of temper tantrums behind the camera that nobody sees, you know, which is extraordinarily taking energy. And the other one is hugely skeptical on people. Like, still have a great relationship with her, but hugely skeptical. So she's always pulling her love back. Again, not from me, but I've watched her do it around a lot of people. And hopefully I'm not coming across as judgy. It's just knowing, like, I have no issues with any of, like, I don't want to portray that any of these people are wrong. There are people that, like, they have tribes that are like them with their value systems. And maybe one of their value systems is to talk out their emotions, and I consider that gossip.
Yep.
Right? Like, and they don't.
And I love that, because you're saying, look, I'm not making you wrong. There's no right, wrong way. There's what's authentic and in alignment for me, and there's what's authentic and alignment for you. And I'm not right, you're not right, I'm not wrong, you're not wrong. And just sending them love, because I heard you say that too. It's like, I love her.
Yeah.
I'm sending this person love, and I get to honor and respect who I am and what I stand for.
Yeah, 100%.
It's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
Something else that I really wanted to ask you, how do you create a balance between being this successful, business-driven woman that you are, running this empire, and then you have your husband, and then you have your son? What do you do to keep yourself breathing?
Yeah. So I do something called flex time. So people have to stop putting themselves second. And so I am first before my son and before my husband and before my girlfriends. And so I put myself first and I have flex time. And so my husband could talk business with me all day long because it's one of the ways we connect. And I do not talk business after 4 o'clock. And so business is done at 4 o'clock at that point. It keeps me in my feminine. So like even raising children is very masculine. You're moving. You know what I mean? You got to get them dressed, you got to get their teeth brushed, you got to get them, in the bath, in the shower, out the door, eating their food, and then there's whatever temper tantrums that might happen along the way that you got to stop and talk to them and work through things and then you got your workout coming up, all that type of stuff. So I take flex time. So the last week of every month I take off and I take weekends off. I work about 3 weekends, 3 Saturdays a year. And that's just connected with certain events. Otherwise, I literally it equals out to 5.5 months. And so that's what it did last year anyway. So it's like the last week of every month, always weekends, and the month of December I take off.
And does your entire team,
everybody knows. No, they're on. They work. But
I mean, everyone knows that this is, so they know, in other words, you're setting that boundary with, it sounds like too, with Ash, your husband, you're saying, honey, after 4,
it's done.
Yeah. So he knows, your team knows.
Yeah, he complains about it. He says that he doesn't have time. I'm like, get on my calendar then. So,
I love that.
Yeah, so we probably should create something, like even when I'm thinking the act of generosity for my husband, we probably should create something when we go on date nights that maybe we could talk business for 30 minutes before we jump into date night or something like that. But it is a point of contention for him because he wants to talk more business. But if I go over that, because I am obsessive, and I think you have to be a little obsessive to win. And so I could go all night. I really could go till 10 o'clock at night and work and ignore everyone.
I believe you.
Yeah, I can. So if I have those hard lines and then I talk about them and create public accountability, then what happens is integrity is a value system to me. And so I won't break it. I just won't. And when I do, I talk about it. And I talk about why I broke it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's very rare. It's very, very rare. So, and when I say it's very rare, it might happen once or twice a year. That's how rare it is. Wow. So I stick to it. Everybody knows it. If I do break it, it's a real problem, because then what happens is it takes me quite some strong boundary holding with the people that I know, because I have so many inbound, connections coming a day. It's like, there was a point in your life where you prayed for all of this business, right? And it's like, so everybody wants a piece of me. And I want to give and be a piece of everybody's world in areas that I can help. And I think I can, if I can create the boundaries the way they are. If I don't take that last week of the month off, I feel like I'm not falling behind. I feel rushed.
Yeah.
Because I run on rush anyway.
And you can't pour from an empty cup. You're creating these moments where you're pouring into yourself, and you're really serious about that. It's admirable, and it's so important. I think a lot of people don't know how to even create that.
Let me give a good reason why. When I was struggling, made $2,000 my first year in profits in business, when I worked 7 days a week. And I might not have been working, but I was texting or on Facebook inbox or something. I was always doing something connected with work 7 days a week. And I had a coach that said, you are a workaholic, and that's hurting you. And so literally what we did was we brought me down to 3 days a week. And I worked 3 days a week, and I got super depressed because I didn't know what to do with myself, because that's where I found out who I was. So my value system started to actually come out when I had some space to get to know me.
Wow.
And if you listen to any great leader, they know who they are. They are not trying to pretend to be somebody else. They really understand that some people think they're too controlling, or they're this or they're that. They understand all of that. You know what I mean? And they have areas that they want to get better in. But at the end of the day, they're going to make shit happen because they know who they are, right? And that's why they're standing in the leadership position that they are.
Yeah.
When I cut down to 3 days a week, you know what it's like to go on vacation? If you're going to Hawaii at the end of the week, you're going to get so much, you're going to have the most productive week, right? Like, and you're gonna feel
Yes.
good about it. Like, you're actually kind of happy about it. You're
Yes.
like on a high.
Mm-hmm.
And then you take off to Hawaii, you're like, whew, I wish I could be that productive every week. Well, that's what it did for me. So I worked 3 days a week. I had four days off a week. I got depressed. I also gave up drinking. I gave up red meat. I like gave up everything that could change my energy. And I just got present with myself. And so I had nowhere to hide. I had no alcohol to hide in. I had nothing to hide in. And so I jumped from $2,000 in profit to $140,000 in profits that year.
Wow. In 1 year?
In 1 year.
Holy smokes,
In 1
girl.
year. So that proved it to me.
Amazing.
And I've only gotten better at Flex Week. So now the sweet spot I've found is the last week of every month and the weekends off.
So you call it Flex Week.
Flex time, yeah.
Flex time. God, I just love that. And I'm going to implement that.
It works.
Like right away.
I have clients that message me all the time and they're like, I just finished my second Flex Week. And they're like so happy. Well, what do you think you create when you're like that? You know what I mean? That's just one aspect.
Yeah, so true.
And it's hard not to work because you start getting these really great ideas because you have space, right?
Guys, I hope you are taking notes. If you're listening right now, this is gold, serious gold. So thank you so much, Shanda. I mean, honestly, I'm going to implement this right away.
Yeah.
It's so important because I can totally relate. Like can definitely be in workaholic where I'm working until midnight some nights, you know what I mean? And
it's intense. And intensity does get you some places, but it also repels a lot of things.
I see that. I
Like
totally
love.
True. Yes. Yes. There gets to be a beautiful balance. So I love that you created something that's structured, that has clear boundaries.
Yeah.
And that's powerful because and I think the boundaries part that you created is huge because if you don't have anything clear there, then it's easy to overstep. It's easy to cross those.
And it's easy for people to understand. So like we were talking about Michael Strasner, he works weekends, right? He has for like 40 years. Michael knows he can't message me on the weekends. He called me last Sunday and I was like, Michael, and he's like, okay, I'll talk to you Monday. Do you know what I mean?
I love it.
It's like if you want to talk about our personal life and you want to have a friendship call, I'm all down. But if you want to talk business with me, I just can't do it because if I do it, it's a problem.
I love that, Shanda.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for dropping that knowledge bomb. That's awesome. So we are nearing the end, and holy moly, girl, you have dropped so much value in this single episode. Thank you so much. I mean, there's just so much. I'm definitely going to go back through and listen and take my own notes because there's I loved our value conversation. I loved the honoring our boundaries. I loved your story that you shared. And just to leave our listeners off, what's the biggest gift that you want them to receive from this episode? If there's one thing you could give to them, one thing they could really take away, what would that be?
So I would say fill your life with mentors along the way. Mm-hmm. Doing life without a mentor, I think, is egotistical. I think it's egotistical because somehow you think you got it.
Saying you know it all.
Yeah, or that you can figure it out. Like, why do you want to figure it out? Like, what is that proving to you? Like, so wherever the gap is, so I'd say, like, figure out what your number one priority is in your life. And then who can you bring into your life to mentor you to create that result or solve that problem? And if you always look at the number one priority and you work on that, like now, then you're going to find that the number two priority is going to become the number one priority. Like it'll keep stacking up. And I think that's been the secret to my success in business, my success in love now, right? My success as a mother. My child is a priority at certain times of the month and the day. But he's not a priority 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And that might sound shitty to someone, but he's not. You know what I mean? That's the truth. Like you look at all the people who fly around the world to come get coached by me. It's like they're a priority. Like they're a human being and they're a priority in that moment. So it's like start your world with your priority and get a mentor for that priority. And then know where you're going and know exactly what it looks like when you're successful. That same mentor that helped me with the workaholism asked me, how will you know when you're successful? And I started to cry because I didn't know.
Wow.
What a shitty way to live your life.
Wow.
You can go forever. So that's what I'd say. What's your number one priority? Get a mentor, and how will you know you're successful?
I love that. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Shanda, you've been incredible. I am so happy that we did this. And so for the listeners who are now obsessed with you, which I'm sure they are, where can they go to connect with you and find out more about you and where you hang out?
Well, Instagram, Shanda Sumpter, or you can go to Facebook, HeartCore Business. So either way, I stream a lot on both.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shanda. You're amazing. And I really hope these listeners took down a lot of notes. And just thank you so much for being here. You're awesome.
You're welcome. Thanks for doing this.